So for each presentation, actually for each topic, I actually put some level of importance. I haven't done this one yet, but for some other presentations I'm going to do moving forward, you have probably seen the level of importance between 1 to 5. 5 is the most important concept. For example, like an interface, I would say is the most important Java language concept that you have to have a really good understanding of it. And level 1 is, it's not that much important, but it's good to know kind of thing. So I would say today's topics, this topic as well as the next one, this is not that much important, but you probably want to know. So here how you can actually getting some input from a user through the keyboard. So I would put, let's say, importance level, the 1 or 1.5. Okay, so moving forward. So slide number 2. So at the end of this presentation, you should be able to have an understanding on how to use two classes. One is BufferedReader class for getting input from the keyboard through the console, and another class is JOptionPane. This is for getting user data through the graphical user interface. So those are the two major classes that we are going to look into, and we are going to look into those two classes by using an example. Slide number 3. So as I said before, we are going to learn these two, BufferedReader class and JOptionPane class. And again, this JOptionPane class is for displaying some kind of dialogue-like graphical user interface. Now, we haven't really talked about the concept of class and object yet. Okay, so whenever I use the term class and object, just keep in mind that we are going to learn those things in detail. So I'm going to, when we actually see an example, just make sure that just kind of stay with me. Okay. All right. So moving forward. BufferedReader class. So slide number 5. So BufferedReader class is inside java.io package. Another thing we haven't learned is the concept of package, but for now you can think of package is a collection of classes. And it's used for getting user input through the console. So let's see how we can actually write this code. First of all, whenever you need a class, you have to import it. So because this BufferedReader class is inside java.io package, you're going to say import and java.io, and you can say java.io BufferedReader. In that case, you are just importing that particular class. If you're using star, this is a wildcard. That means you are importing every single class under this package. And the statement that you're going to write is, first of all, you are going to create what is called the input stream reader class object. And then you provide a system.in class and object. And so again, we haven't really learned what is the input stream reader class is all about. You can think of it for now is it's a class that is used to read a data stream. Okay. And then you are going to create BufferedReader object, passing input stream reader object that you just created. And then you are going to have a variable called the data in, whose type is BufferedReader. So once you got the BufferedReader object, you can use it so that data in variable is pointing to BufferedReader object, and then you can call readLine method. So readLine method is actually reading a line. Whatever user typed in at that particular line until user pressed the return key, that's what you're going to read by calling readLine method. And then whatever user typed in will be captured in temp variable, which is string type. Now, you see this try and catch structure. What this means is that whenever there is a problem, we call exception in Java, whenever there is an exception, that will be caught by this catch statement. Now you have to provide this try-catch structure for any statement that could have a possibility of causing an exception. For example, in this case, if there is nothing to be read or something like that, that could actually, so that could be an exception, and that would be caught as an IO exception. Okay. Okay, so the Sunny was telling me, could you please describe page 6 as the voice was broken? So let's get back to page 6. Okay, so let me just repeat this. So I'm going to actually, we are going to see the whole code later on, so let's move on. Okay, so I'm going to explain one more time when we actually see the complete code. Okay. All right, so this is the complete code, page 8. Okay. So last time we have seen how we can create a class. So here we create a class called the getInputFromKeyboard class. Okay, it's just a name. And then we have a main method. Okay, so last time I said main method has to be exactly like this structure. Okay, and so you got to start with the public static void main and has to be string array. And one thing that was pointed out to me by one of you was this is the name of an argument, and this one could be anything. You know, you can say XYZ or something. Okay, so this args is just a name, but all the other things you have to follow exactly like this. So here, what we are doing is when you run this application, we actually create input system reader object like this. Again, we'll actually learn input stream reader the class later on when you're talking about stream IO. Okay, so that's an important topic that we are going to cover in detail. And then you are going to create buffered reader object, and then what you get back is buffered reader object pointed to by this data in variable. Okay. And then we create name variable, which is a string type. We initialize with a null, the string, and then we print it out. Okay, so user is going to see this message on the display. Now, when you are executing this line, it's going to wait for the user to type in something. Okay, so when the user types something and then press return key, then this line of code will capture that and assign it to name variable. And if there is some kind of error, and then that error will be caught as an IO exception, and then it will display error message. If things worked out okay, then this message will display hello and the name that was typed in by the user. Okay. Okay, question from Kathy. Oh, okay, so sorry. So somehow the audio keeps breaking up. How is everybody else? Is audio is actually worse than last time? Okay, so let me move on. I haven't, okay, audio is in and out. Okay, so breaking also. Let's see. Yeah, looks like today's audio is not good. Yeah, I'm not doing anything different from last time, so I'm not really sure. Let's see, what could be this reason? I'm using, okay, hold a second. I'm using the microphone. Okay. Yeah, I put the microphone close to my mouth. I'm not sure what that's going to actually make that much difference. Static on the line when you cut out. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure there is anything much I can do at this point. If we have serious problem with the audio, then maybe I will have to record it later on and post it. For now, I'm not sure if there is anything much I can do. So let me just move on. So a question from Rich. I can still understand, but you cut out. Okay, so you're actually talking about some voice. Difference. So question from Chuck. What's the difference between input stream reader and buffered reader? So input stream reader is basically what is called the input stream, the object. Again, we haven't really talked about, we are going to learn the input stream later on detail. But for now, you can think of there are different kinds of input streams. So anything that you can read data is in the form of input stream. And BufferedReader class has to use some kind of input stream object as input, as an argument. Okay. So for now, just understand that BufferedReader class is just getting the input stream reader object as an argument. Let's see. The question from Michael, what type of error does the catch statement catches? Yeah, so this is again something that we are going to cover in detail. So exception handling is a very important concept. And for now, so in this case, if you see IO exception, so exception is just like any other class, meaning it has hierarchy. So the IO exception is any kind of exception that is happening when the input and output, the operation is being performed. Let's see. Okay, all right. So let's move on. Yeah, apologize for the audio problem. I'll actually talk to GoToWebinar guys after this webinar to see what is going on. All right, so moving forward. Yeah, so for now, I know that you have a few questions about input stream and IO exception. So, for now, I do not want to actually spend too much time on those things because we are going to have in fact, a complete session on those two topics. We have an exception handling session as well as input stream session, so we'll cover those things. For now, let's just focus on BufferedReader class. Okay, so we are going to dissect this application piece by piece. So import statement. Okay, so again, whenever you need a class, you have to import it. So here in our application, we were using BufferedReader class and input stream reader class and IO class. That's the reason we are importing those two classes. Instead of actually having these three import statements, you can say import java.io and star, and that will actually import everything, including these three classes. So this could be a bit more convenient for you. But in general, recommendation is to be as specific as possible when you use import statement. Slide number 10. So we are going to talk about, so this is a continuation of dissecting the sample application. So the concept of package, again, for now, you can think of a package is a collection of classes. Now, typically, you are going to actually have your classes in hierarchical tree structure. And each of those branch node, you can think of a collection of classes or other packages. So you can think of package as a branch node in a tree structure in terms of the class hierarchical structure. Yeah, audio is really bad. Okay. Okay, so audio connection. Yeah, let me actually restart my router and see whether that kind of helps. Okay, hold on a second. Yeah, it's not gonna disconnect you anything. Just hold on with me for a second. Okay, I just restarted my router and hopefully that solved the problem. Yeah, so Can you hear me okay now? Yeah, I just the turned off and turned on my router. That's the reason your audio is cut off. How about now? Can you hear me better? Yeah, I can hear some static, but hello? Yeah, this is saying good now. Excellent. Okay, so this is good. Hissing occurs. Yeah, I hear that a couple of times, but now it's gone. Okay, I think it's better. Good, excellent. All right, excellent. Good. Okay, so moving forward, slide number 11. Let me see. I think there was another question I didn't answer. Okay, question from M. Brooks. Is there an impact on program efficiency using import java.io star instead of being specific? Yeah, so that's actually a good question. So when you're actually using import statement, it will actually load that class. So there is actually some performance as well as memory consequences. Now, when you're using an IDE, so that is a consequence. So that's the reason that it's recommended that you import as specific as possible the classes and packages. Moving forward. All right, so now this is the class definition. So we say public class and the name of the class, okay? And then we have this main method, okay, which we talked about. Slide number 12. So this is the code we have seen. Again, we actually created input stream reader object, and then from it we create the buffered reader object, and then moving forward 13. So we now we have name variable with the no character, and then we display please enter your name message. Okay, so this is displaying the message, and it's not prompting the user. I mean, this gets displayed, but we are not really prompting. We are not really reading things yet. That happens on the next slide here. So when this line of code, this statement get executed, data in read line, that's where your terminal will be waiting for a user to type something. Okay. And as we talked about, whenever there is a possibility of an exception, you have to catch it. If you don't, you will actually experience compile error. So these are the things that you will actually experience at the compile time. For example, let me just actually write some code to show you a new project and Java application. Finish. So here I'm gonna just I want to I have the code. Oh, here we go. Okay, so I opened the example code. So I'm gonna just use this one. So if you have this line of code outside of a try and block, so I'm going to just copy this code and see what happens. And you can see there is a compile error. So it says unreported exception, Java IO exception must be caught or declared to be thrown. Okay, so there are a couple of options you have. Either you have to catch it by using this one, or you can actually throw that exception here. Okay, so for now we are going to use this try and catch. Okay. Oh, the question. Yeah, the question is if you have this line of code without try and catch, meaning without catching exception, you will get the compile error. Okay, so that's what I was explaining using the code. So question from Paul, if an exception is raised in catch, will the flow of the code stop there, or will the system.output print hello still be executed? So when it's caught, so when you're catching it, what it means that you're going to handle that exception. So what that means is whatever logic that you happen to have in this coding block will be executed. In this case, the logic that we are going to execute when the particular exception occurs is print out error. So the error will be displayed. Oh, I think you're asking, will the system out println hello message will be executed? So let's actually see the complete code. So okay. So the question is, what about this? When there is an exception, whether this particular statement will be executed or not. Okay. So this is a T-shirt question for you guys. What do you think? So question is, suppose there is an IO exception. Okay. So we know that this will be displayed. What about this? So Michael said no. What about the others? Okay, it will not be executed. It won't display it. Yes, it will. No exit in catch. No, no. Okay, so looks like half and half. Okay, yeah, so it will be executed because what happens is that we actually do this one and then logic goes to the next line. Okay. So in this program, basically what you want to do, the better program is you want to actually add this line of code inside this try block. Okay, so right after this, that's probably a better program than what you see in page 8. Okay. All right. Good question. Okay. All right. So that is the BufferedReader class. And now let's move on to the JOptionPane class. So JOptionPane class is for getting user input through sort of the graphical user interface. And because this is graphical user interface is actually inside the javax.swing package. Okay, so it's going to pop up a dialog box that prompts the user to type something. So let's see the code. And yeah, so let's actually see what is actually being displayed. So what gets displayed is this. Okay, and then user is going to type whatever he or she wants to type in, then click OK. Then it will display the response. I mean this message, whatever that is typed in. If the cancel is clicked, then nothing happens. Okay, so let's see the code. Again, this is pretty straightforward code, right? Okay, so we are going to dissect this this code in a bit more detail moving forward. So basically, we have a main method, and we have JOptionPane class, and then we are going to call showInputDialog method. Now, one thing that is probably puzzling to some of you is, do I have to create an object of JOptionPane the class first, and then use the object to call a method? In this case, we didn't really create an object instance from JOptionPane, right? Instead, we are using the class name directly to call a method, right? So this is what is called the static method. So there are two different kinds of methods, and one is the static method, and the other one is instance method. So this is an example of a static method, meaning this method can be used from a class. Okay, so you don't have to create an object first before calling a method. Okay, so we're going to actually learn those things. I think either next or the following week, how to use a class as an object. Okay. So by calling show input dialog method passing some text string, we are displaying that dialog box. And when user typed in, and then whatever user typed in will be captured as a name variable, and we just display the using another static method called show message dialog method. Question: what is the plus symbol used in the uname? Oh, okay. So one way that you can create a string is this is what is called a string literal, and this is again example of string literal. And then whenever you're using plus symbol, and this is a variable, it's going to create a one single string. It's a string concatenation, so to speak. Okay. So if name turned out to be like a sang, then it will actually create a string called hello space sang and exclamation mark, and that will be displayed. Okay, so import statement, and you can also use this wildcard. And so this is the statement we have seen, right? Okay. What was the null for? So when you're actually seeing Kathy, when you're saying null, which line of code you're talking about? You're talking about this one? Bottom line. I don't see any null. Line 9. Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Sorry. So null. Yeah. So null is a keyword. And last time we talked about the concept of the primitive type versus, let's say, the reference type. Reference type is what is called that you are going to use a class. Okay, so from the class you create an object instance. Okay, and the null is basically indicating there is nothing, meaning you are typically providing some kind of object instance. Like, in this case, suppose, so this is an example of message string object is passed as an argument. Okay, so this is an object instance. Now, here, when you're using null, that means, if you're not passing anything, if you're not passing any, let's say, object instance, then you use null. Okay. Okay, so this is displaying the message. So, later on, you are going to learn how to use a Java documentation. So when you see the Java documentation, you will see what are the types of the parameters or arguments are supposed to be passed. Okay, so you will actually see the type of this parameter. If you're not passing any particular object instance, then you're going to specify it as a null. Okay, so you can think of, like, let's say, placeholder of an object. So question from Chuck: what other object can be used in place of null? It depends on this method. So when you actually see the Java documentation, so let's actually see the Java documentation. So I'm going to actually see the Java documentation of show message dialog. Why I didn't actually see Java doc. Oh, looks like I didn't configure. Hold a second. Java documentation, Java doc. Oh, I didn't configure. So I'm going to actually configure Java documentation. download. JDK. Okay, so this is Java documentation. Okay, now let's see. I can see Java documentation. Okay. So I can see the Java documentation of JOptionPane. I want to actually see the Java documentation of show message dialog box. So this method is taking what is called the component class type. Okay. So in this case, for this method, you have to pass an object type, which is a component type. Okay. So again, we haven't really talked about this concept of class and object and all that, the concept of type and all that. So, it might be a little bit confusing to you. Okay. But for now, you are passing a component type. In this case, we are actually passing object type. Object type is root type of everything. So, pretty much every object, you can actually pass it here. Okay, so let's move on. All right, so we actually talk about basically BufferedReader class and JOptionPane class. So let's take a look at the lab documentation. So open file, and hello. I should actually have it before. Java SE, and the input key. Okay, so this is the lab documentation. So yeah, exercise 0 is how to configure your Java documentation zip file with your NetBeans IDE so that you can do context-sensitive Java docking. By context-sensitive Java docking is that, you move your mouse, as I showed you before, you move your mouse and then right-click it, and then you select Show Java Doc. It's basically you can press Alt F1 key combination as well. Then you will actually get the Java documentation of the particular class. I strongly recommend you to use this feature as often as possible so that, you actually, this is a way that you are going to get some exposure on how some classes and methods are being used. So go to this website, and you are going to download Java SE documentation zip file, and you download it into some file system. So yeah, so this is the name of the zip file. Okay, and then, actually I didn't really, okay, so I think I actually showed you how to configure, but as I said before, the way you're going to configure is from the NetBeans, go to Tools, and go to Java Platforms, and select whatever JDK that you want to configure. In this case, I have only one JDK 1.6, but you could have a multiple, and you could actually configure different Java doc for different JDK version. And you can have a source code. Yeah, source code is actually come with a JDK, so you can actually see the string class, for example. Java doc, you have to configure yourself, like what I did. Okay, so you can say, add zip, and then select this particular Java doc zip file. Okay, so exercise 1 is basically, just running the application that we have seen. So we are going to create a new project, Java application, and we name it as, this is a project name, and this is a main class. And then you just type in the code, okay? And then when you run the application, just right-click project and then run, and it will display here, please enter your name. So you type your name, and then you have to press the return key, okay? And then that will be captured, and then it will display. It will display hello sanction, okay? And here we are going to add another information will be collected from a user, in this case an age. Okay, so we we have age string variable, then again we are using the same code. Okay, the read line, and then we are going to in this case the age. Okay, so one more thing that here we are going to actually learn is, I haven't talked about this in the presentation. So for primitive types that we talked about last time, like int or long and float, double, and things like that, they have corresponding classes, meaning corresponding reference type. Okay, so for int, for int primitive type, the corresponding reference type class is integer, IETEGER. Okay, so they are actually the matching. So int primitive type has integer reference type, and long, L-O-N-G, has capital L-O-N-G class type. Okay, so in this case, what we are going to do is we are going to convert. So what we have done here is that we actually receive the age as a string. Okay, and now we want to provide some logic to compare whether that the age or user's age is over 100 or not. Okay, so in order to do that arithmetic operation, you have to convert the string of 100 to int. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. Now, in order to actually convert the string value 25 or 100 into int value, you're going to use a static method of this integer class. Okay, so that static method is called the parseInt. Okay, and then you provide a string object. Okay, and then it will return the int value. So when you do Java docking of integer class, you will actually see parseInt like this. Okay, so let's see the code. So what I have done is this. We have received int value as a string, right? Okay, so this is a string type. So here age is a string type. Okay, now we want to convert that string, the object, into primitive int value. So in order to do that, you are going to use static method called the parseInt of integer class. Okay, so then what it gets returned is int primitive type value, and then we can perform arithmetic operation. Okay, does this make sense? Because you cannot perform this arithmetic operation against a string. Okay, so you cannot say age in this case is the string, so you are not going to be able to say age is greater than 100. Okay, all right, so we have that result. Okay, so 1.3 is showing you how to configure your java.zip file in the NetBeans IDE, as I showed you before. So select tools and select Java platforms, and then select whatever JDK version that you want to configure with. Because we have downloaded 1.6 java.zip file, you want to configure with a JDK 1.6. Okay, and select java.doc, click add zip folder, and then you go to a directory where you actually save that zip file, and then click add zip folder. Okay, and then once you have done that, you should see that zip file is configured for this particular JDK. So any Java class that is supported in JDK 1.6, you can perform Java docking, context-sensitive Java docking. Okay, so here you're going to perform context-sensitive Java docking. So basically, I want to learn how to use integer class, or in all the methods and all that stuff. So basically, move your mouse over here, and then right-click it, and then you select Show Java Docking. Then you'll see integer class Java doc information. Okay. All right, so that's exercise 1. Exercise 2 is using JOptionPane. Okay, and again, this is pretty straightforward. Question from Wendell. Hello, I arrived late to this webinar. Will be available to review in the near future? Yeah, so again, we are going to I'm recording it and will be posted to class